So, Amanda, I think there's an opportunity here for also a climate change lens to be applied to this as well, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the COVID recovery and the kind of amount of funding that we're seeing being put on the table at the moment is the greatest opportunity that I've seen in my lifetime to reorient the economy so that we're working within the natural limits of the climate. So we have a huge opportunity to build the infrastructure that we need to take us to a low carbon economy. So far, I really haven't seen that kind of vision or ambition coming from our political parties this election, though.
Yeah. And I think an example of that is Labor's recently released energy policy, where they promoted the idea that they were going to generate 100% of renewable energy generation by 2030. But then when you actually started to look down in the details, it was something quite different. And I think you guys put down a really good response to that as well, where you described the policy as stingy and needed, and more action is needed. That sounds like, maybe a C+ if they were lucky on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've described it is kind of tiptoeing in the right direction when we should be making big, bold strides because, it might look good on paper to say we're going to go to 100% electricity, renewable electricity, but if you look at what the major sources of climate emissions are in New Zealand, it is the agriculture industry and it is also transport. And electricity is only a very small portion of that. So, there's nothing bad about Labor's policy, but it's not targeting the right areas. And at the moment, we are quite clearly in the middle of a climate crisis. California's on fire, the Amazon's on fire. We all remember the Australian bushfires last year. So climate change is kind of knocking on the Labour leader's door, asking, where's this promise of a nuclear-free moment that you offered us last time? And we didn't see it in this policy. What we need to see from the major political parties is, what is your plan for transitioning the agriculture system? What is your plan for transitioning the transport system?
Well, National has a plan. I mean, it's I'd like to say it's bold, but no, it's more reheated old dinner from National, where they're going to repeal the RMA. Goodness me, we haven't heard that one before. Reverse oil and gas exploration ban, and back responsible mining as part of a pragmatic energy policy. Yes, that was... I just couldn't believe that one. I was like, these people, are they even trying? Because then you look and you see they've got the roads, and it's just like roads for a period there. Everything that National announced came with a road.
Yeah, I mean, with reference to the pledge to reverse the offshore oil and gas ban, I mean, that was incredibly disappointing. And it's also strange because in the same week that National made that announcement, the Financial Times and The Economist both put out pieces of analysis saying it's the end of the oil age. COVID combined with climate change concerns has really slammed this industry. And if you're looking for economic growth and if you're looking for jobs, that's not the industry that you should be looking towards. And clean energy produces around 4 times more jobs than the oil industry. So it kind of calls into question, the economic nous behind that announcement. With regards to the roads, I think, to be fair to National, they've got quite a lot of policy on the table as well for rail, for public transport, for cycling. Their electric vehicles policy, even though, again, I call it tiptoeing, is slightly stronger than what Labour have put out. But as you say, there's a lot of roads in the mix, and we know that building new roads induces more car usage because people use the options made available to them. And if those cars are predominantly gas guzzlers, which, we import 60 times as many gas guzzlers as we do electric vehicles at the moment, then those roads are going to lead to more carbon emissions. So, we need to see a step change in ambition on climate policy from both of the major parties at the moment.
But what are your thoughts then about the Green Party itself and what it's putting out there as in regards to policy to deal with and to take climate action?
Yeah, from both the Greens and the Maori Party, we've seen some good progressive climate policy. We've seen commitments to ending fossil fuel use, to community energy programs, to working on agriculture in particular, so funding a transition to regenerative farming, dealing with fertilizer and palm kernel expeller, which drive intensification. But I can't say hand on heart that any political party is taking climate change as seriously as it needs to be taken.
Yeah.
And with those smaller parties as well, it's a question of what are they going to take to the negotiating table if they are asked to form a government, and what will their priorities be? And what we've seen with the Greens in this last term of government was that they backed down on putting agriculture into the emissions trading scheme. So we need to make sure that we're pushing all of our parties to kind of hold firm to their values, and to make them bottom lines at the negotiating table as well.
And this is all such a contrast, I think, to the sort of the vision that GreenPeace has been putting forward as part of its The Future is Here report. We've taken a screenshot out of it, just a wealth of information, and I really encourage people to go and have a look at it. Can you just take us through a couple of the key elements of this in regards to, and we chose this one because it was also both about how energy is generated, but also the opportunities that are there in taking climate action.
Yeah, I mean, there are huge opportunities, like you say, in the clean energy transition. So, for example, building public transport creates more jobs than building roads. As I said earlier, clean energy jobs, or clean energy produces more jobs per dollar invested than the oil industry. Solar and wind are the fastest growing sources of employment in the United States. They have potential in every town, city, and region in New Zealand. There's 600,000 under-insulated homes in New Zealand that need insulation, and that is heaps of jobs, getting people to work, making houses warmer and drier for people. Not to mention, building railways, cycleways. There's so much potential. I think what we're seeing at the moment is just a more sort of business as usual, same old, when really we have this opportunity with the COVID recovery budget to do some transformational things that are going to be good for the climate, but also good for creating jobs. And, in the case of housing, providing decent housing for people and decent opportunities for people.
Yeah.